Today I have another album review for you. It's the album Cleansing by Prong. The album was released on January 25th, 1994 through Epic Records. This album was produced by Terry Date, who was the new producer, considering that Mark Dodson produced the previous two albums. This features some additional members. It has Paul Raven, who previously played bass with Killing Joke. He also passed away in 2007. It also has John Bechdel of Killing Joke as well, and Ministry, and he played keyboards and did some of the programming. So as most of you know, Prong started out as one of the first groove metal bands, but on this one they leaned more towards an industrial sound. Also keep in mind this was 1994, and one of the biggest bands out there was Pantera, so you can hear a lot of those Pantera-influenced guitar grooves throughout this album. This can also be considered to be part of that short-lived alternative metal movement that was popular throughout the 90s. It's also notable that they departed from their thrash metal style on this album. This album probably had one of the biggest songs ever called Snap Your Fingers, Snap Your Neck. This one got a little bit of mainstream recognition. The music video was heavily rotated on MTV and was one of the most popular skits on the Beavis and Butthead show. Let's take a look at that right now.
Is that band Schlong? No, you dumbass. It's Prong. Oh, well, I wasn't that far up. Butthole.
The band went out on the road with Sepultura and Pantera during that time. They were there for the Chaos AD and Far Beyond Driven tours, respectively. The album was also reissued by SPV Steamhammer in 2008. Let me talk a little bit about the background and recording. Most of this was written by vocalist and guitarist Tommy Victor. And what's interesting is that he wrote a lot of it in the bathroom of his Williamsburg apartment in Brooklyn at night on an acoustic guitar. The album was later recorded at Bad Animals and Magic Shop recording studios and was mixed at Electric Ladyland Studios. We can see some musical evolution on this album. Some compare this to Prong's New York hardcore-infused, like 1980s work. And this was also influenced by something you probably wouldn't think of, and that was an album by the Sisters of Mercy called Vision Thing, which was released in 1990. Tommy Victor actually ranked this number 2 out of the entire Prong discography. That was with Kerrang! Magazine. So let me read a few quotes from a few critics. AllMusic critic Stephen Thomas Erlewine described the record as the band's most varied and best record yet. Erlewine noticed the record tightens up their trademark drilling guitars while adding some slight techno and industrial touches. Record collectors Joel McIver described the record as a respectable seller rather than a monster, with a sound resembling Fear Factory's more commercial works. Let's talk about some of the songs. There are 12 tracks. It's a fairly long album. It's an hour long. That was common album length in the 90s. I'm going to break down this album into 9 components based on the tracks, and then I'll give you my top 3 songs at the end. The first component I want to talk about is the industrial influence. So we have lots of tracks such as Whose Fist Is This Anyway and Cut Rate, which have industrial elements. These include drum beats and sound effects. This gives the album a machine-like industrial edge. The second component I want to talk about is the groove metal. The album just features heavy grooves. That's really a prominent characteristic. So we have songs like Snap Your Fingers, Snap Your Neck, Broken Peace, and Home Rule. This shows off that groove metal sound. It's often danceable and rhythmic. Third component is the new metal and early 90s vibes. The album opener, Another Worldly Device, kind of described as having early version of like a new metal sound. Other tracks like One Outnumbered evokes groove metal style popular in the early 90s, reminiscent of bands like Machine Head and Fear Factory. The fourth component is diverse guitar styles. So we got a range of guitar styles from stop-start riffs such as Another Worldly Device and Cut Rate to funk-infused riffs like Broken Peace, and even rap metal elements like Home Rule. The guitar work contributes to the diversity of the album's sound. The fifth component is it is lyrically catchy and it has an attitude. So we have tracks like Broken Peace with the catchy lyrics, the repeated line, pick up the broken pieces. It's just so catchy, and it just overall adds to this edgy attitude of the song. Now let's talk about the sixth component, the bass and the drum dominance. We have songs like Out of This Misery and No Question. The bass and drums play a major role, creates a dark and futuristic atmosphere. The guitars are sometimes more subdued. This contributes to a heavier and rhythmic foundation. The seventh component is the diversity in sound. This album has a huge range of sounds. We got dark and angry tones of Out of This Misery, more energetic and rap metal influenced Home Rule, and this diversity keeps the listener engaged throughout the album. Overall, Cleansing by Prong appears to be a dynamic and eclectic album. It draws from various influences, creating a unique blend of industrial, groove metal, and alternative elements. Now for my top 3 songs, I'm also not going to pick Snap Your Finger, Snap Your Neck, or Whose Fist Is This Anyway? Those were like the most popular songs. I'm going to pick like 3 deep cuts. So here they are. My number 3 deep cut is No Question. This one has that groove sound. Some of the guitar riffs reminded me of Dimebag Darrell, those Pantera guitar riffs. Also has some noise rock guitar chords and complex drum beat. The wah-wah effect on the guitar sound adds another layer to the sound as well. My number 2 pick is Cut Rate. It's a little faster, it's a little more extreme. This one reminded me more of like a Ministry song with thrash metal guitar riffs and an industrial drum beat. It's one of some cool machine gun riffing. Reminds me of that time when Rambo was firing off rounds at the end of the movie. But after a few minutes of the song, it gets a little slower and groovier. It's one of some of those helmet-style stop-start guitar riffs and some sound effects in the background, consisting of feedback-driven noise made on the guitar. And my number 1 pick is going to be Broken Peace. It has some groove, but also has some of that Red Hot Chili Pepper style guitar riffs, gives it a funky vibe, and they're layered behind some heavy groove metal sounds. All this is driven by an industrial beat. It's one of some catchy lyrics. Tommy Victor sings Pick Up the Broken Pieces. I love that. The song also has some of those typical Prong style guitar riffs. The song has a lot of attitude, and it's a catchy song. If you like this video, check out my review of the latest album called State of Emergency. It's going to be right there. This was released at the end of 2023, and it's actually one of my top albums of 2023. I thought it was awesome. Please like this video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you have not already. Hit the bell for notification. I will see you in the next one.